It seems like a cycle at this point, but the newest season of NinjaGo has encountered controversy amid the community. Like how the community feared Sons of Garmadon was going to be awful just because of a change in the character designs, the community has once again been in a fit over the most recent season, Season 11, or Secrets of the Forbidden Spinjitzu. For the first time since the series began back in 2011, not counting the theatrical film, a new animation studio helmed the series instead of Will-Film, who's been producing LEGO television content for years. This change was inadvertently teased when an early in-production teaser was leaked via a Canadian TV station. Fans were outraged as the teaser was an obvious drop in quality compared to what had come before. Thankfully, the leadership behind the show said it wasn't finished animation, was footage sent to stations just so they could know what they'll eventually be getting so they can begin forming promotional material for it. Some fans were not swayed and went into the new season more trepidatious than usual. The season got off to a strong start, but some fans were taken aback by what many perceived to be filler episodes. To make matters worse, as the show moved into the second half of the season, the Ice Chapter, it seemed evident that the inclusion of these filler episodes was harming the quality of the other ongoing story arcs, taking away screen time from them and leaving them underdeveloped. Others are not as impressed with the season's apparent lack of stakes or permanent change to the status quo, not having as much as a problem with the filler and more problem with the writing quality in general. With Season 11 having finished airing via pirated rips of the episodes online and still waiting for an official Ice Chapter airing in the US, I thought it was time to discuss the season overall, the definition of filler, and how to potentially improve the season by addressing the episode order. Full spoilers for the season are included here, so if you're waiting for the episodes to officially air in your country, then you might want to turn away now. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you go, though. So, let's go ahead and dive into what I thought about the season overall. I've been asked my opinion on the season a few times in the comments and have said that I'm reserving final judgment until I've seen all of it. Well, I've seen all of it, and I can confidently say that it's just okay. It doesn't reach the emotional highs of Sons of Garmadon or Skybound as much as it tries, and the pacing, especially in the Ice Chapter, is an issue. At its core, however, it still feels like NinjaGo. It adds interesting things to the lore, and the characters are faithful to what has come before. It's important to note that this is the first season helmed entirely by writer Bragi Shute, as the Hagman brothers ceased involvement with the series following March to the Oni earlier in 2019. Bragi didn't write every episode of the show, but he is the closest thing to what we can think of in terms of the showrunner, the way Russell T Davies or Stephen Moffat have been in charge of pointing Doctor Who in a given direction. Other producers like Tommy Andreasen helped with the story as well, but Bragi is the main writer of the show. In terms of the story and how it progresses from beat to beat, it's handled well overall. There's just a few hiccups stop it short of being executed perfectly. One of those hiccups is the pacing and how that plays into the filler episodes. As well as the first full season with the new writing team, the format of the show has also changed. We've gone from 22-minute episodes to 11-minute episodes. While that's not necessarily a bad thing, it does have some unfortunate side effects in this season. One of those is that certain character arcs or storylines can come off as rushed. For instance, let's take a look at Kai's journey in the Fires chapter. He sort of has two mini arcs that help play into his overall arc in the season as a whole. One of them is the initial depression at having lost his powers to Asphira, and the other is being angry at Wu for not telling them about Asphira. Not feeling up to the job because he lost his powers is a fine idea because, well, he lost his powers. However, he seems to get over this to some degree very quickly, as in the exact same episode it's brought up. Him being angry at Wu I have more of a problem with, as Asphira is more of a Moro-type situation, and they weren't exactly mad at him back then when that happened. This could have potentially been done better if Kai remained distant from the group following his loss of powers and didn't get his confidence back thanks to the random kid. This would give his motivations for being angry at Wu better weight, as it's still technically the same motivation, but we just had an episode where it seems like he came to accept his loss of power, making his anger at Wu seem unfounded. The problem at the center of these two arcs is its runtime. The season uses a new shorter format to tell stories in, which means the writers need to adjust and realize they can't fit a character arc into a single episode anymore. Let's think back to season 1 of the episodes where the ninja find their true potentials. Zane and Kai's arcs are spread throughout multiple episodes, but Jay and Cole's are pretty much a one and done. Jay finally gets the courage to ask Nia out, and discovering that she likes him for who he is despite his scaly exterior does away with some of the insecurities that lie at the center of his character, for which the transformation to a snake was a visual metaphor. For Cole, he comes to accept himself as well and forges a better relationship with his father, unlocking his true potential after saving him from falling stage lights. Both of these arcs are contained within single episodes, and they work mostly because the story has a full 22 minutes to tell it. With the new 11-minute format, that doesn't work as well. Imagine if TikTok had been told in 11 minutes, or Nia's transformation to the Water Ninja had been told in 11 minutes. This is why Kai's arc in the Fire chapter feels weird, because they give him two important story beats and try to get them both out of the way in 11 minutes each. If they had been combined into one and split between multiple episodes, it would have worked better. To their credit, they mostly pull this off well in the Ice chapter, so they must have noticed the problem early on and managed to correct it. Of course, the Ice chapter has its own problems with pacing, and this really comes down to the episode order. The episode order as it's officially presented is a bit of a jumbled mess that jumps around too much to tell a good cohesive story. Unlike many, I don't have that much of a problem with the filler episodes, more on that later, but I feel if you include episodes like these in your story, they can't take away from it and mess with the pacing. A good example of this is the Kaiju Protocol. Right when we finally have confirmation that Zane is the Ice Emperor, the immediate following episode is Pixel fighting the Preeminent. While this episode does give us information that Wu and Pixel are actively trying to get the ninja back, the placement of this episode is really awkward and doesn't help the flow. The pacing and dramatic tension is ruined because of it. This is the biggest problem I have with the Ice chapter overall, despite the rushed ending. So I've taken the liberty of rearranging the Ice chapter viewing order to hopefully fix these problems. First, we have episode 19, The Absolute Worst. Placing this episode immediately after a cold goodbye gives us a nice breather from the previous episode and starts building tension for where the ninja have gone. This is the one episode that I removed from the list completely if I could, as I do believe it lives up to its title as the worst episode of the season. While it introduces Fugitive and we know we're going to be seeing more of him in the future, he, Ultraviolet, nor the Mechanic play any role whatsoever in this season as a whole outside of this one episode. You could legitimately skip this episode and not miss anything, which can't be said for the other filler episodes this season has. This might be controversial, but at this time I'm not a fan of Fugitive either. I get major Jar Jar Binks vibes from him, which isn't a good thing, but obviously I'm not the target demographic for this episode, let alone the show, so I let it slide. He might grow on me more in future appearances. The one thing I do actually like about it is the anime art style. I think it's funny. The next episode up is episode 26, The Kaiju Protocol. Putting this episode after 19 furthers the story of NinjaGo proper while the ninja are gone, and we get to see Wu and Pixel trying to bring them back. Placing another episode in between the introduction of the Never Realm and us actually getting to see it helps build tension more, making the next episode all the more exciting and shocking. The next episode up is episode 27, Corruption. This is the biggest change to the pacing of the Ice chapter overall, as now we know from the get-go that Zane is the Ice Emperor and we see his transformation and manipulation at the hands of Vex. It's actually a really good introduction to Neverrealm, with concepts of the Formlings and Grimfax the Red Emperor getting mentions/introductions here. Following this, we have the ninja arrive to the Neverrealm in episode 16, The Neverrealm. This is followed by episodes 17 and 18 and then 20, since by this point we've already seen the absolute worst. We take a small break from Lloyd and Nikita's journey with episodes 21 and 22, introducing the Traveler's Tree and how the ninja are going to get to NinjaGo. After this, it's all downhill from here, with episodes 23, 24, and 25 being filled with character revelations and backstories to boot. And not bothering to stop for a kaiju mech battle or backstory on Zane, since we'll have seen that already, we skip to 28, 29, and 30, finishing out the season. The episodes themselves don't change at all, but I think the order they're presented in alleviates some of the frustrations held by the community. I found it incredibly aggravating to be interested in Lloyd and Nikita's journey, and then we whiplashed over to something completely unrelated several times throughout the Ice chapter. Problems like the rushed ending are still evident, but it won't feel as bad given that we didn't stop for random kaiju battles just 2 episodes prior. Hopefully with Season 12, these pacing issues will be dealt with now that the production team has been given a season to get to grips with the new format. Now we need to discuss the biggest problem people had with the season, that being the so-called filler episodes. I've seen it calm down some, but when the Fired chapter was first airing, people absolutely hated episodes such as The News Never Sleeps and Snake-tastrophe. They were immediately classified as filler and the rage machine began. I actually really like these episodes, and the reason is because they're not filler episodes. We as a community, it seems, really need to have a sit down and discuss what the definition of filler is. I think of filler as an episode that doesn't move a story forward at all and just is. Some call this a fluff episode, and I think that works too. A perfect example of this, as I said earlier, is episode 19. While seeing the adventures of previous and new NinjaGo villains done in anime format is fun in theory, it's so disconnected from the main story you have to wonder what the point is. Pixel doesn't say the criminals have interrupted her search for new Traveler's Tea or anything, she just calmly throws them back into Cryptarium Prison. The other so-called filler episodes of this season aren't like this at all. The News Never Sleeps is necessary because we see Clutch transported to the hospital and little Nelson and Antonia go to the monastery of Spinjitzu to tell Wu where the ninja are thanks to intel from Clutch. Without this episode, Pixel might not have been able to rescue the ninja in time from the lava pyramid and the show would have just ended because our heroes are dead. Snake-tastrophe is required watching for similar reasons, as Asphira learns the location of the scroll of Forbidden Spinjitzu during her attack on NinjaGo City. Both of these filler episodes have important plot details in them that make them important to the story. While they don't focus on the ninja, they offer fun insights to the world of NinjaGo and update the story at the same time. If future seasons are going to continue to do sort of one-off episodes, this is how they should be done. Unlike Sons of Garmadon, this season really was a bigger change to the franchise that might have warranted the trepidation from fans. At the end of the day, like I said at the beginning, I think it's still a good season. It's just not on par with some of the great seasons we've received in the past. While I think the 11-minute format hurt this season in particular, I don't think it's going to hurt the show overall going forward. This was the hardest reboot or reset we're probably going to get for the show going forward, or at least for a long time. I think it's natural that there were some hiccups here and there. Despite the problems this season had, I'm still excited for the future and can't wait to see what comes next. And I hope you out there watching are too. Until next time.